All right, let's go ahead and try a question that's similar to number 3. So in this case, it's in a similar format as number 2, where we have to determine whether a statement is true or false and explain our reasoning. The difference here, though, is we're given 2 data sets, and this time we're not only going to be able to know conceptually, we have to solve with mathematics because there's not a number or answer that will always be true. It just depends on the number sets. So you do have to show work, and you absolutely need to solve for all of these in order to determine if adding the extra numbers will change these different measures of center in a certain way. All right, so let's read the beginning. It says, consider the data. So we're given these data points, and then it says 2 extra numbers, 5 and 16, are added to the data set. And now we're going to answer these questions and determine if they're true or false. And we're going to explain our reasoning. And with these ones, you can explain pretty easily with the math, and then just reference the math that you did. So this first one says, adding extra numbers will increase the range. So remember, the first thing we want to know is, what does range mean? And hopefully you remember range is just your highest value, your maximum, minus your lowest value, your minimum. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and set that up for each set. So we're going to look at this set, and I'm just going to call this OG for original set. And I'm going to find my biggest value. It looks like it's 13. And I'm going to find my smallest value, which is 5. So in this case, my range would be 13 minus 5. And when I do that math, I am going to get 8. And I'll do this one in a different color for my new set. So remember, in my new set, it's that same set, except the numbers 16 and 5 are added. So 16 is going to be the new biggest number. And then the smallest number, since those are both 5, is going to stay as 5. And of course, 16 minus 5 gives me 11. So now I can go ahead and answer the question based on that math. So adding the extra numbers will increase the range. So did adding the extra numbers increase? We went from 8 to 11. Yes, it did. So I'm going to say true. And I'm just going to say, because the math shows it increased from 8 to 11. All right, so as simple as that. Our math made that determination for us. All right, so let's go to the second one. Now, the second question said adding the extra numbers will change. So remember, change can either be up or down, doesn't have to be a certain one, and it'll change the median. So let's think about, what is median? Remember, median is the middle number, but the key part there is that data has to be in order to get that median. So let's go ahead and order our sets. So I'm going to put OG again for original set, and I'm going to go ahead and order that. So let's see, it looks like 5 would be the smallest number. Then I have 7, 7. Then I have 8. I have 2 10s. And then I have 13. All right, so let's find the middle there. Remember, you can just X off until you get to the middle. In this case, looks like we have an odd number in our set, so our middle would just be right there at 8. Now, try it out for your new set and see if it changes. So I have another 5 to add to this set, so I'm going to do 5, 5, 7, 7, 8, 10, 10, 13. Oops, I don't know how that extra stuff got added. And then the very last one would be 16. So we added our new values of 5 and 16 to that set. So go ahead and find the middle number again. So you can X them off until you get there. Once again, there's an odd number in this set, so we're just going to have 1 in the middle. And voila, you found that it stayed at 8. So adding the extra numbers will change the median. Did it change? No, it didn't. So we're going to say false. The median stayed the same. Oops. Stayed. I don't know why that keeps happening. Sorry, guys. Stayed the same. And of course, your work will be referenced when you submit this. I'll have to see the work in order to prove that. So if you're just giving the statements without the work, you will not receive credit because it's not always true. So make sure you're supporting it with the work, referencing that work and saying false because it stayed the same as you see in my work, and then you'll get full points. Okay, so very last question. Let's move on to the very last one. It says adding the extra numbers will decrease. So remember that means it'll go down, decrease the mean. So remember, mean is the average. We find that by adding all the values and then dividing by how many there are. So we're going to have to do the math here in order to determine if it's true or false. Going to also need a little bit more room. So let's set up our original set with adding all the values. So I'm going to show 10 plus 5 plus 7 plus 7 plus 10 plus 8 plus 13 divided by, and then you're going to count how many numbers are in that set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 divided by 7. All right, so you are going to add up those values. Remember that you are absolutely free to use a calculator to do so. And when I add those up on my calculator, I get 60. And then of course you are going to divide that by 7 because that's how many values were in the set. And that gives us something close to, you can round, about 8.5 or 8.6. That was the original set. Okay, now for our new set, the cool thing about this is luckily you already did all of the math there. So you can just go ahead and take that 60 and then just add your 2 additional values. So 5 plus 16, that way you don't have to add all of those again. And in that case, you're just adding 21 to 60, so you would get 81. And then in this case, you were dividing by 7 in the other one, but you're gonna have to add 2 more since we added the 2 new values, which would have got you 9. And 81 divided by 9, luckily that's one of our facts. 9 times 9 equals 81. So that's 9. And the last step would just be determining if this is true or false. So adding the extra numbers will decrease the mean. So the mean went from 8.5 to 9. It increased. So we would say false. We can just say because the math shows it increased. If you wanted to be specific and say from 8.5 to 9, you could as well. But just know that all the math has to be shown already. So as long as you're right, because the math shows it increased and you're showing your work, then you're all good. All right, this is how you'll be successful on a problem like this.